Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here with you. It's been a really nice diversity of talks this morning, and I'm glad to say mine increases that diversity. We're moving over to the soft and fluffy side. I'll hopefully guide you gently into this. We've had a research partnership with eThekwini Municipality formalized over the last 4 years, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about an evaluation we've been doing of this partnership and consider whether the tangible or the less tangible outcomes are more important. Just to quickly tell you what we're going to be doing, I'm going to tell you about the partnership, and then I want to give you a little bit of background on the theory of evaluation and reflection in these kind of partnerships or collaborations. Then I'll give you some insights into what we did, how we implemented the theory, and what it showed us, and some of the lessons. So hopefully you've seen this lots of times at the conference, and you all know about the KwaZulu-Natal Sandstone Salveld Research Program. It's one program within the broader partnership between eThekwini and UKZN, and it was formally started in 2011. But it's quite important here to note that there have been engagements between the environmental researchers at the university and at the municipality since 2004. And these have started building foundations, building relationships, developing mutual understanding, all of which are really important in terms of the sustainability of this kind of partnership or collaboration. And as you know, the current focus of this program is the KwaZulu-Natal Sandstone Salveld ecosystem. It's highly endangered, but very little is known about it. And through this program, we're trying to actively bridge the science-action gap, which came out clearly yesterday in the discussions about evidence-based conservation. So I think it's quite suitable for us to be thinking about how we actually do this. Giving some introduction about some of the literature about evaluation and reflection. First of all, some definitions. So evaluation is to estimate or assess the nature, quality, extent, or significance of some sort of program or activity, and it applies an element of judgment against a set of objectives or specific indicators. In contrast, reflection is a calm, lengthy, intent consideration, and reflection is considered a really important part of adaptive learning. Furthermore, a problem that crops up quite a lot is that program evaluation is often done at the end. We're ticking boxes to keep our partners and our funders happy, and there's little or no value in that evaluation for the participants in that program. The value of continuous evaluation, and in addition to evaluation, also reflection, is that it involves the participants, it makes them more aware of the process and their role in the process, and it can allow for continuous improvement and troubleshooting within that partnership or collaboration, which you can't do if you only evaluate at the end to tick boxes. And also very important that the partnership promotes an atmosphere of reflection which can lead to learning and then adaptation. And this requires a special kind of leadership. A good word to describe it, I think, is enabling leadership. And leaders who are prepared to criticize their own work and their own programs and think about what they're doing while they're doing it and not just at the end. And I think this kind of creating the atmosphere to be able to do this is something that leaders of programs and partnerships need to take responsibility for. So when we're evaluating and reflecting, there are two different parallel sort of streams that we can follow. First of all, this is the more common and comfortable evaluation, outcome evaluation, which is about evaluating tangible program outcomes. So this is, for example, using indicators like how much knowledge has been generated, how many student projects, how many publications, how much capacity has been built. And this is usually the question we ask here is what? What has the program or the partnership achieved? But there's also another side to evaluation, that's the process evaluation. This is about evaluating some of the less tangible program outcomes, so analyzing the actual characteristics of the process itself. And this is about exploring the different perspectives of the different participants, not just the leaders and the coordinators, but everybody. How do they feel about the process? Was it valuable to them? And some of the indicators we can use here are learning, networking, alliance building, and one of the good measures here is social capital, the cohesion between teams and participants. And we need to ask the question, how did the process happen? How did we do our work? So just to kind of summarize a little bit of this background, we drew a little diagram. So we need to evaluate not only the outcomes, but also the process. But that evaluation will only really be useful if we also reflect on it, and if we take that reflection and turn it into some kind of learning and adapt and change the way we do things. So I'm going to bring you to the case study now of the KZN program, where we've implemented some of this evaluation and reflection, these activities. And first of all, just to give you an overview of some of the things we've done through a timeline. And one of the first formal evaluation activities we did was in June last year. This was a classic kind of outcome evaluation where we took the research questions from the municipality and the project outcomes of the university and matched them up to see how well they were aligning. And not only did we evaluate that, but we reflected on it, and we think and hope we learned and we adapted our program on the go. And then a few months later, we did one of the activities towards the process evaluation, which was a questionnaire, and the results of the questionnaire led to some reflection and learning and adaptation. So that sort of continued on a time of different activities. So just to go into a little bit of detail, some of the methods. So for example, how did we do the process evaluation in August last year? We use a mixed methods approach. This is a very prevalent way of doing things in social research because you can use a kind of triangulation. So you use different methods to assess the same thing and they can validate each other. So we used an online questionnaire with all our participants. We had a pretty good response rate. We also used individual reflection cards in a meeting or workshop setting where people were asked to reflect and record their reflections on cards for us. And we also had focus group discussions, particularly with the core team or leadership team, around what these things were telling us. These were analysed qualitatively and quantitatively, and we're also busy with follow-up activities now to see if there's been any change in the perceptions over the year and whether we've been able to adapt our actual process. And importantly, we've also provided feedback and discussion opportunities with participants in the program. So another example of one of the methods we used was one of the reflection activities, just to give you a nuts and bolts sort of idea of what we were asking. So we gave people 4 cards, and they had to write down on 2 of the cards one of the aspects they'd like to change and one they'd not like to change about the partnership. So we're looking for what's going well and what's not going well. And then on the second, third, and fourth card, what can you do to make the program better and what can we do to make the program better? And what we did here, which I think is quite important, is the first dot fed into our data about our evaluation, which the team, the kind of core team, analysed. But the third and fourth ones were personal. And I think we don't often do that in our work, allow for personal reflections about me, my role, what am I doing, and take that home with you and keep it with you and commit yourself personally to your role in that partnership or in that work. I'm going to give you a quick snapshot of some of the results just to see what comes out of this kind of work. So this was from the process evaluation questionnaire, the online questionnaire. This was asking participants their perceptions of the success of the science outcomes. So asking them what they think we've achieved in terms of the knowledge we've generated. And the bars, each bar is one specific indicator of one of the knowledge objectives of the program. And you can see here that biodiversity knowledge and ecosystem function knowledge we're doing relatively well. Some of the others, there's a bit of uncertainty. We're somewhat generating that knowledge, but not that well. Then sort of in contrast, asking a question about the participants' perception of the process, the collaboration process, how we're doing things. A little bit more yes here, a little bit less blue. And for example, just to give you an idea, we're asking people whether they think they're building long-term networking relationships, whether they're feeling more confident in engaging with managers on decision-making, whether they're building relationships and trust. And we're really surprised by this result. People obviously feel like they are building relationships. The social capital in the team is growing. And this was the first indication to us that maybe some of those process-related, less tangible outcomes are more important, especially in the early phases of this kind of collaboration, where people just need to slowly get to know each other and trust each other. So that was really useful for us. And then just a quick question from one of the questionnaires again, how would you rate the partnership overall? This came as a great surprise for us. So most people say it's satisfactory, some say it's extremely satisfactory, some were indifferent, and no one was unhappy. And this was an anonymous thing. People could have grumbled if they wanted, they didn't grumble. So this was really great for us, because we did have grumblings in the team previously, and we were not sure. So this is why sometimes it's good to ask your team what's going on. Another bit of a result from one of the reflection activities, the cards. This was about suggestions for improvements. The little lines are not there. Each of those represents one of those little wedges. I've just highlighted the big ones here in pink. This showed us that we need more admin support. People feel burdened by admin, and they felt that this was getting in the way of them doing their research and doing their practice. And we need to consider maybe adjusting the research focus. This is really useful for a team that's leading a collaboration or partnership to get this info and then to act on it. So how did this process help us? How has it been useful to us? It's helped us to learn and adapt throughout the partnership. It's helped us to respond quickly to concerns, which we might not have done if we hadn't asked about concerns. It's helped us to derive lessons for ourselves, our team, but also to share with others. And also, I think it's, as I said, it's helped us to appreciate the less tangible outcomes and shown us that if we hadn't done the evaluation and reflection, we might not have come across those. So back to the title, what matters more, tangible or intangible? I'm going to sit on the fence here. I think both are important. Both need to be evaluated. But unfortunately, I think the less tangible processes are often neglected. So we need to give them special attention, especially because they are difficult to measure. And in our partnership, we found that the intangible outcomes were achieved earlier, but that they've built us a firm foundation for our work. So in conclusion, I'd like to remind you of this little diagram and encourage you, actually, to take this back with you into your work, because most of us are in collaborations and partnerships, and spend some time evaluating. Allow opportunities for your teams to reflect and to learn and to adapt so that you can really make the most of your work. So the evaluation and reflection are best done continuously, not just at the end of a program, and in a participatory manner to ensure structured learning for the whole team. How is as important as what and should not be neglected. And we need to build an atmosphere of learning, of reflection, learning, and adaptation. That requires enabling leadership. And investing in the process rather than the product takes a lot of time, commitment, and effort. But we believe it's certainly worth it because it builds sustainable foundations for collaborations and partnerships to achieve the tangible conservation outcomes that we all want in the end. Thanks very much.